It is time now to know what's on the front pages of Nigerian newspapers, and joining me in the studio is lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun, as well as in-house analyst Obaniyi Akinwale. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so let's begin with the blueprint now. Fallout of Umahi, Ayade Matawale's defection. 7 national officers quit as PDP crisis deepens. You find details of the story on the pages of the Blueprint newspaper. To the leadership newspaper now, PDP in Disarray as 7 national officers quit, cite exclusion. Youth leader calls for sack of national chairman. Secondus fires back, says some members want to erode party's gains ahead of 2023. To the Daily Sun now, APC-PDP crisis worsens. Ruling party may dissolve Buni's committee, governors more cancellation of world congresses. 7 opposition party deputy national officers quit in protest, demand immediate resignation of Secondus. Excuse me. All right, to the Nation newspaper now, bid to force out Secondus, National Working Committee splits, PDP governors. Party Exco tells 7 officers who resigned to go immediately. Youth leader, others knock chairman. All right, to the Punch newspaper now. APC plans Buni Oyetola Bello's removal from caretaker team eyes interim Exco. Party fears future implications of Supreme Court judgment on Yobe governor. APC members asks court to annul Congress's sack Buni-led committee. No going back on Congresses. No apex court judgment bars or secretary. All right, to the Nigerian Tribune, still talking party politics. PDP governors weighed in as 7 NEC members resign. National youth leader demands Secondus resignation. Saraki, Aim, Imoke, Dankwembo meet aggrieved Oyo factions. To the Vanguard newspaper, 2023, fresh troubles in PDP as crisis fester in APC. 6 PDP national officers resign. APC weighing them. Secondus must go, PDP youth leader. PDP governors sue for peace, schedule emergency meeting. APC crisis worsen in Rivers, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom. Osun Ondo Rivers faction secures order against Congresses. Chieftain explained court's order stopping Bayelsa Congresses. All right, you find all of the details on the pages of the Vanguard newspaper. To the Guardian, fresh battles rage for soul of PDP APC ahead 2023. Court asked to nullify APC states Congresses. Dissolve Buni-led caretaker committee. Secondus leadership of PDP crashes as 10 National Working Committee members disown him. 7 others resign. PDP crisis is being addressed. Governors call for calm. APC woos 7 PDP national officers. Buni's APC delegates escape mob attack in Kano. To the Nigerian News Direct now, PDP crisis deepens as 7 national officers resign. We have engaged the GIF members. Ologun, Saraki-led committee gives Makinde month-end ultimatum to reconcile party chapter. All right, to the Business Day, Akwakwa multiple checkpoints frustrate electronic call-up system. Akwakwa multiple checkpoints frustrate electronic call-up system. To the front page of the national economy, Nigeria's post-oil economy faces uncertain future with paltry $2.5 billion savings. Find details of the story on the pages of the national economy. To the First newspaper, TB Joshua, kinsman kick, the man probe of June the 5th death, following Ghanaian bishop's claim that popular cleric was killed. You find details of the story on the pages of the First newspaper. To the Daily Trust now, 3rd wave, NYSC camps on red alert as 109 test positive for COVID-19. Shut camps to check spread. Expert urges federal government. NCDC records 851 cases in 2 days, 11 deaths in 1 day. Government may roll out lockdown measures soon. We are safeguarding members NYSC. All right, gentlemen, let's look at this story that you find on almost all the front pages of the papers this morning. And I'd like to take it from the front page of The Guardian, where it says, fresh battles rage for soul of PDP APC ahead 2023. This is coming on the heels of the situation we already have been witnessing in the APC. Now in the PDP, 7 members of the National Working Committee have resigned, although the party is saying that they are calling for emergency meeting. But let's get a sense of what you make of this development from the 2 prominent parties. Jide.
I want to start by saying that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And of course, it should start within the party before coming to the macro level. But from what we have experienced in Nigeria, it's not the picture we have gotten, because those who are resigning from PDP now are alleging that the chairman of the party is not carrying them along. But the chairman of the party, also responding through the spokesperson, is saying that, okay, if you go, we feel your position. So there is this need for emotional intelligence in managing relationships. And PDP already had issues. You recall that some governors migrated recently to APC. And this may be justifying that migration as being proactive. But again, on the other side, this is a party that should be the major opposition party right now in crisis. And the ruling party also is going through the murky waters of, you saw how the World Congresses went, the slim escape for Governor Akinwale in the Supreme Court that has, fingered Buni as, a platform that may not be so strong going forward. So you find the 2 parties now struggling to stabilize. And having said that, I want to say that's what we call predictive analysis, that some of us are not surprised. When you relegate good governance and you amplify politicking, you cannot escape results like this. So Nigerians now are not so interested in partisan politics, but to have good governance and have the results of good governance in the society that will help consolidate the relevance of the parties. And that is why we have noticed the things that are going on. And it's a very simple principle that God has set in order. You attend to good governance, you find it easy maneuvering on the platform of politicking. So we are watching, and you can see even the former chairman of INEC coming out to say that Nigerians should not vote for PDP or APC in 2023. And people are saying, you brought APC in. So I just believe that we are at the threshold of establishing the culture of good governance in Nigeria.
With this development.
Yes, I mean, definitely, because whether they like it or not, if you don't do the right things by attending to the needs of the people, you cannot escape crisis. It's a principle that's in order. Okay,
so let me throw that question to Obaniyi. If we are at the threshold of establishing good governance with this development that we are seeing coming from the 2 major parties.
Yeah, good morning once again. I think for me, it is high time we begin to give definitions to various concepts as it relates to us as Nigerians and Africa. Like he said earlier, the democracy he defined was as defined by the United States practice democracy. But I would rather define democracy in Nigeria as the government of the governor, by the people in the corridor of power, for the people in power. Because you discover that whatever you have happening between the APC and the PDP, as it were, was a creation of the governors. You remember vividly well, these governors were the ones that came together in 2018, refusing to allow Ologun to go after his tenure has expired. You remember his people in the corridor of power like Bukola Saraki and co. that are strengthening to ensure that Ologun remain in power. And you recall that people that want to contest 2019 election are for them to ensure that they retain their tickets. And this same set of governors, when we have the issue of governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, were the one trying to ensure that they remove or totally uproot Comrade Adams Oshiomhole from the party APC. And when they were forming the Central Executive Committee of APC, or the CEC, or whatever they call it, Caretaker Committee, they have 3 governors and others. So it shows clearly that he who plays the piper dictates the tune. So whatever you have in the APC today is a creation by the governors for those in power to continue to be in power. And if you come to PDP, prior to the election of Vice President Atiku as a candidate for 2019 election, you saw the division between the Wike Tambuwa camp as opposed to every other person. And you saw what is happening now, that one of the reports captured that 8 governors from PDP are solidly behind Uche Secondos led NWC, while 3 other governors are behind and against him. And also you have 5 sitting on the fence waiting for what will happen. So it shows clearly that our democracy has always had the definition around the governor, around the people that are in corridor of power, and to be retained for them to remain in power. And it's so unfortunate for us as Nigerians that prior to now, the kind of opposition that we used to have for Nigerian politics, say for example in the West, you have AC, you have APGA, PDP in the southeast, and you have a bit of AMPP in the north, and you have the PDP in the south. So you have this internal competition within these blocks and within these political parties in terms of governance and in terms of structure. But what do we have now? We have collapsed into a 2 system whereby we only have 2 vehicles. There is no political ideology. There is no problem. If they call themselves progressive governor today, another person in PDP crossover tomorrow, they remove the badge of not progressive and place on him immediately, it becomes progressive. So it shows clearly that the ideology is no longer there. And if you look at the original owners of this party, both PDP and APC, you discover that this governor has relegated them back to the background. And they determine who becomes the ward councillor, the ward representative, up to the state, up to the federal level. So clearly, until we get to that point whereby every member of the party determines who becomes what with their party registration, with their dues, we still have this money back, or the governor still at the ends of affairs of running party. We should not expect anything different for what we are expecting. 2023 will come and they will go. What is happening now is everybody is fighting for what to control and for power. And after everybody has been shared accordingly, you will see all this noise will go down. You just want to grab headlines, and they want to ensure that every political bloc within the IPC or PDP is well catered for and power is shared. At the
end of the day.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how things pan out. Oh, you want to react to something before we move on?
Like you brilliantly mentioned, at the end of the day, to move forward as a nation, we need to trace our steps back to good governance, because eventually you cannot predict who will be consumed by the crisis we deliberately groomed in this country.
All right, let's quickly look at another story, which is something that is of major concern, and that has to do with the ASUU strike. They met with the federal government yesterday, and the Minister for Labour, Chris Ngige, talked about the fact that 7 issues were looked into to ensure that to see how far they have come with the implementation of the memorandum of action entered into by the parties, and to see how successfully they have implemented some of those things. But then again, the concerns for some persons has to do with the fact that this is coming on the heels of the Global Education Summit that was held in the UK, where the president or global leaders committed to raising funds, about $5 billion for education globally, stemming from what we have seen with regards to the COVID-19 crisis of 2020, and how when you come to Nigeria, there was a strike already that happened during that period, and we are seeing this happen again, where we are trying to resolve the UTAS and the IPPS, and we are wondering, the paradox we have seen placing side by side this development, what really are we trying to achieve with the education in Nigeria? Because a lot of persons are saying this strike has to come to an end. Jide.
You know, some Nigerians are rejoicing that our president is personally in that summit and maybe returning to the country with some billions of dollars to support the educational sector. But the big question is that what is our value system for education? A nation that currently appears to be condoning fight against education that is plagued with infrastructural deficiency, that pays little respect to ensuring that the lecturers are there to willingly lecture the students, that the budgetary allocation to education is so poor that seems to be engaged with insecurity. So that is on one side. And now, look at the concept of trust, the resolution of action that should have been implemented, not yet implemented. The same thing in the medical sector. The resident doctors are on strike now. Over 100 days. So you find a government that appears to talk and not walk the talk. And that is a reputational crisis. So where are we going from here? And really, globally, education is the conveyor belt of civilization that will help us ignite our economy, create opportunities, develop the minds of the people, that will even help us in insecurity. Because some of us keep wondering, why will you take knife and slaughter a human being? Why will a group rise up and say, okay, we want to bring down fighter jets and things like that? Why are we not focusing on jointly developed countries of the world? So I will advise that can we first resolve our value system. I personally do not associate myself with the concept of believing that Nigeria as it is today, with all the content analysis and precedents that we have, has respect for education. We need to start from there. Learn from South Korea, learn from great countries. If the education system in the UK is not reliable, would they be sending their children to school there? Will my president be going there for medical attention? So we need to get serious. If not, even if you bring the whole $5.5 billion and hand it over to Nigeria, what about if we end up buying fighter jets to fight insurgency with this aid? So we need to rectify a lot of things structurally to move forward. Let me finally say that if we are serious about education, we may not even be relying on gathering money abroad. We have enough resources in this country to generate the revenue to move in the direction of development. And as long as we ignore the value of education, we remain where we are, and we will fail to deliver on the primary purpose of government, which is the security of the people and welfare of the people. And I hope my president, who is now the president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, presiding over the affairs of Nigeria, will sit back and consider the counsel we are rolling out this morning.
All right. Obaniyi, let's get your perspective to this now. As it stands, what really can address the situation we have found ourselves with regards to education? What can put an end to the various strikes that we have seen? Is it money? What really is it that would nip this thing in the bud?
I think our problem in this country is still boils down to what my grandfather told me before he died. And the adage has always been that you saw a man with a hunchback, and you said the load is carrying on his head is not straight. He said, you are looking at the load on my head, but the load I'm carrying on my back will never allow me to get straight. Our problem is all of us. A primary 4 pupil in China will by now know how to start setting up a wristwatch. If you go to our university we have today, we'll still go about Lambert, Teraja, starting to look for Ketchell's law and what have you, when the world itself is collapsing the physical walls we call school, and they are taking education to people at home. I remember a couple of days ago, a few of my colleagues, Yemi Adeniro and one other person, were discussing about div and hops that is happening, development and operations, how the modern world is ensuring that you develop and you automate and you reduce human intervention. Now, we know what we celebrate in this country. Tomorrow now, President Buhari will go and cite Federal University of Education in Ikotumudri, my village, and I will jump up and say, yay, my local government now has a federal institution. Is that our priority? This is a country whereby we all celebrate when they create new Federal University of Technology, Federal Polytechnic, Federal College of Education, people are appointed and what have you, but we are still using the same old curriculum. This is the same people that they are not being paid allowances for over years. This is the same institutions that research were not being funded. This is the same institution that we send our best of best out for research out of this country, and they are retained out there. This is a country whereby data science, data analysis is not being given priority. This is an institution whereby you go to our public schools, they are still doing Ajabi Bata in 2021. When the boy in there in primary school in Scotland, in England, is doing coding. This is the same country whereby you are comparing yourself with Britain that has a population of 66 million to a country that has a population of over 200 million. This is a country that has over 88 million people out of school, and yet we have a budget of less than 10% to cater for them. What is our priority in this country? Yes, every country prioritizes security. It governs the budget. But you ask yourself, what is even the fundamentals that people were taught from primary school to secondary school, even to university? What we're after all is that first, before now is that, are you a first-class student? Now it's no longer that. How many masters do you carry? That's the next thing. The next thing the world is asking is that, what skill do you have? Is this country building skills or building knowledge or building certificates?
So no matter the amount we get.
And you know what President Buhari said that was very, very funny? He said, if you don't have education, you have problem. And I love that. Because Buhari himself was educated in the military to go and kill. But the modern day development is to have education to ensure that you develop your society. Now, if we're still going back to the education in the 83s that the military has given to their people, and yet we still expect different results, how do we do that? Where is our Minister for Education? What is his pedigree? What is it adding value? Where are our researchers? Who are the visitors of our schools? So all these things, ASUU Strike, ASUU will continue to strike as we like. Because if you ask yourself, all ASUU members want to have what they call a sabbatical, or they ought to have a job somewhere else where they go and work, either in private school or other universities, to augment what they are earning. So you have a myriad of problems facing this country, and it's not today. See, what we are seeing now is just as a result of what has happened in years past and our inability to invest in human resources. Government needs to prioritize getting people skills. We need to review our educational syllabus. We need to even review our priorities. Right. You don't send people to jamborees to go and do things and say that the best student in mathematics 100,000, and you said somebody in would lock down for 90 days, 90 million, 3-bedroom flat with SUV, and you said people will take us for seriousness. We'll continue to have what we have. All right,
we need to leave the conversation here now. Thank you so much, lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun, as well as in-house analyst Obaniyi Akinwale. Thank you so much for your time.